and welcome. Aloha and welcome. And I'm always mindful of starting at the top of the hour and respecting everybody's time. People are still coming in and joining us, but we are delighted that you are here and have made the time to join us for the Women in Business Seminar Series. We have wonderful speakers joining us to talk story about opportunities for women, minority-owned small businesses. Just a little bit of housekeeping, just quickly to run through. Please remain muted unless you are called upon to speak during question and answer. The opportunity in question and answer is to use either the chat function in the meeting room, or you can use the reactions and pop up your hand and we can call upon you to unmute yourself and ask a question. This webcast is being recorded and will be available. We'll send you an email when that is. Give us some time to get that recording done. It's usually about half a day to get that. So we'll definitely have it to you by tomorrow. Without further ado, the other thing is to make sure you've got your name, your correct name underneath you. And if you want to pop your organization in there, that will also help us identify who you are and where you are from. And with that, I am going to pass the mic to Leslie Wilkins, President and CEO of Maui Economic Development Board.
Well, aloha, and thank you so much, Annette, and to our entire production team, which consists of Leilani Ventura and Gary Albitz. Thank you for helping to put together today's agenda. We are delighted to have you joining us during your lunch hour for our Hawaii attendees. And for those of you logging in from the continent, thank you for joining us Pauhana, which is after work during your evening. This is our 5th webinar in MEDB's Women in Business series in partnership with the Women's Business Enterprise Council, with support from the County of Maui, and funded in part by the Small Business Administration Community Navigator Pilot Program, of which MEDB is honored to be a grantee. We are delighted to have over 85 registered today. 53% registered are startups. 23% identify themselves as mature businesses, and 13% identify themselves as in mature growth stage. So it's nice to have that full spectrum of businesses. MEDB launched this series at the height of the pandemic, when we knew that women-owned businesses were predominantly in the service sectors, retail, catering and food service, entertainment, and the care economy, all of which were hit the hardest during the pandemic. MEDB and our partners want to provide tools, mentoring, coaching to help more than 40% of the businesses in Hawaii, which happen to be women-owned businesses, retool, restructure operations, and upskill to meet the challenges of doing business in a forever changed economy. Historically, in times of economic downturn, there has been a marked surge in women opening their own businesses. And this is certainly the case during the pandemic, with a record number of applications for EIN numbers, which women have been a significant part of those numbers. Many women have cited that they are seeking more flexible work environments, the persistent wage gap, pay inequity, the disruptions of COVID, that they want to work for themselves. And we know small businesses are the backbone of Hawaii's economy. Most women, however, who are business owners in Hawaii and actually across the nation, are classified as non-employee-based businesses, meaning that they are one-woman operations. So helping support successful one-woman operations to scale up into job growth, employee retaining companies is a surefire way to help diversify our economy, strengthen it, grow it, strengthen our community, and strengthen our families. We are pleased to host a panel today of Hawaii women business owners who have successfully navigated the process of becoming a certified women-owned business. Now, we have shared before on our webinars that actually pursuing small business certification, a women-owned business, minority-owned business, or the other opportunities are not for the faint of heart. It is definitely a bit of an arduous process. So, but worth it in the end. These women who have navigated the process successfully are actually going to candidly share their experiences and why it was worth it to persevere. The goal of today's program is to continue to build awareness about small business administration and other women and minority-owned certifications that could potentially give you a tool for growth strategies. So when you decide the time is right, we hope sooner rather than later, MEDB and our partners are here to help you, coach you through the certification process. So please have your questions handy, put them in the chat, because we want to take advantage of this opportunity to speak with women that have really done it, to have them share their experiences, their lessons learned, and why it's been beneficial. So to start, it is my pleasure to introduce our first panelist, who is well known to MEDB, and that is Mahalo Foster. She is president and sole owner of Melly Wraps. She is a Kauai girl, born and raised there, and currently lives in Kilauea with her two sons. She has started many businesses, but as she says, none of them fed her soul like this one. We are delighted that she hosts MEDB interns and is helping us grow that future workforce. And she's also presented to Hack for Oceans to explain how her product will help reduce the plastic waste polluting our oceans. So on that note, it is again my honor to introduce our first panelist, Mahalo Foster, owner of Melly Wraps. Mahalo, it's all yours.
Aloha, everybody. Thank you so much for letting me be here. It's such an honor to be here and share a little bit about my story with you as a woman entrepreneur. I hope you all can hear me. Awesome. Yeah, so I started Melly Wraps back in 2016 with one of my best friends. And it was kind of just a side hustle for a little while. And fast forward about 7 years now, and we're still in business through the pandemic. So that's very exciting. But for those of you that don't know what Melly Wraps are, excuse me, Melly Wraps are an eco-friendly alternative to plastic wrap for food storage. And we make all of them right here on beautiful Kauai with Hawaiian beeswax and organic cotton. So use them just like you would plastic wrap, but they last about a couple of years and great for the environment. So definitely check out our website later if you like. But yes, a little bit about my story. I've always been an entrepreneur at heart. I think I was inspired by my mother, who was very artistic, and she was always working with her hands. She would make weave baskets back in California, where she was from. And she moved to Hawaii in the 80s and made flower leis and would sell them at the docks here when the ships would come in. So she was constantly being crafty and learning ways to make a living that way, which is all about entrepreneurship. For me, as a mother and a business owner, I feel like women are they're just the best multitaskers. We think we can do everything. For example, I'm sitting in my truck right now, taking my son to a baseball camp. So multitasking all the time. I got certified as a women-owned business back at the end of 2020. And the process did take some time. The application it's a little long and there's a lot of documents that you have to upload, but I love to write lists and kind of check things off of that list. And just taking one thing at a time was really helpful for me. I'm like, all right, today I'm going to do this and tomorrow I'll do that. And I made it through, and it's been a wonderful experience. We've connected with so many other women entrepreneurs. I feel like there's emails every week that have really great, connections. I did a webinar a while back about how to learn about how to do retail in, you know, larger department stores like Target and whatnot. So there's so many opportunities. I'm a little new to it. I think there's so much that I haven't even tapped into. So I'm excited to do that and eventually attend some of the, you know, the in-person social gatherings through the women-owned business operations there. We recently added the logo to our packaging, which was very exciting. And it's just such an honor to present that. I feel like when someone sees your product on the shelves and it, you know, that little logo is on there and they're like, oh, it's a women-owned business and they're certified and they're proud to be a woman. And I'm very proud to be a woman entrepreneur and very independent. I feel like owning a business is kind of like being a mother in a sense. It's like you feed your business and then it grows and you have all these little issues that pop up and you just kind of roll with the punches, if that makes sense. But yeah, so I don't know if anybody has any questions, but that's been my experience and it's my story.
Thank you very much for sharing. And you're right, women are the masters of multitasking. There's no question about it. So I am going to turn it over to my colleague, Gary Albitz, who actually really is involved so much in the certification process. He is a certified business coach himself. And we will go on to our next panelist. And Annette, I believe we're holding questions more to the end. Is that correct? So please write down your question and put it in the chat because we know that we want to hear from all of our panelists on their experiences. So Gary, would you like to introduce our next panelist?
Thank you, Leslie, and thank you, Malia. I use your product also and on the golf course. It helps me keep my lunch fresh. So thank you very much for that. So I'd like to, I have the honor to introduce Jennifer. She's been a resident of Maui since 2014. She lives in Sprecklesville and she's a practicing attorney and realtor. And she co-founded Pono Chocolate with her business partner, Janet, in 2016. They sell on their website and at stores like Mana Foods and looking to expand. And then she gives majority of her profits to nonprofits and local charities. So Jen, can you take it away, please?
I'm happy to. Thank you so much for having me here. It's an honor to be here. And my business partner, Jan, I see she's in the listening as well. And she and I, as Gary said, we started the business in 2016. And we were slowly getting our momentum, trying to figure out the ins and outs of business. And a lot of it was a humbling experience, learning to, as logistics came up, we had to re-navigate and reform our business plan. And we didn't have any. I wish we had had this network from the very beginning or known this network was here because we didn't know where to start. And then COVID happened. And most of our business, had a lot of hotels were starting to pick us up. We had great momentum. And a lot of hotels obviously shut down. And I have to say, some of the other women's owned businesses like Mana Foods and Paper Garden and Capiche, their connections there. This community kept us going through the pandemic, and we're so grateful to our friends and other women business owners too, who we've been reaching out to even before the certification. And as we were looking to expand, we want to get into the Whole Foods, the bigger stores and Walmarts and Targets. And there's a platform called Range Me that if some of you are in the food industry, you might be familiar with. And to get into Range Me, you make your submission to a store, but then they started asking questions of, are you a woman's own business? And the next question is, are you certified? We're 100% woman owned business, but we weren't certified. And that's when we started the process. And eventually this did lead, Walmart was thrilled and Walmart's approved our products. And there's so much that can benefit from this. There's classes and mentorship. And we're just very new to this process. So I don't feel like we've really taken advantage of all the things that you guys have to offer. But I really wish I'd seen this webinar before we applied. And wow, the hardest part, you have to go through what's called sam.gov, and it's just be patient. The system's going to be down. I just guarantee you at one point, the system will be down, and prepare yourself for it. Use the call center. There's a call center. They answer, they're on the phone, they pick up right away, and they send you a new link. So just be patient, keep working through that. And then what I like to do is get all of our paperwork ready. You had to, because once you started the application, you just had to keep going. And they tell you, there's a list of what you need. We had to get our, P&L statements, copies of our passports, and just none of it was very difficult. Just have it all ready to upload. And then the funniest one was the meeting. And I'm speaking frankly, here I was, we're about to start the meeting just to confirm we're a women's owned business. How hard is that? There's two of us, we make all the decisions. And the meeting was actually, it was very simple. I don't know why we were nervous for it. They want to make sure there's not men, we're not puppets for men. Like, who makes the banking decisions? Who makes the business decisions? And so they just went through that whole process, and then we're certified. And now we have it on our logo. These are our bars. And we were just able to put the women's owned business emblem there, which is nice. So that's very new. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Jennifer. Appreciate that. The effort to move through this is sometimes daunting and confusing, and you're right to use all the resources possible. And now that MEDB is working here, we're a resource also in case you all run into issues. So feel free to contact us if you want to start the process or are in the midst of the process. All right. We'll move on to Lori. She learned how to make soaps and lotions when she was in college. And she's actually joining us from Honolulu on a conference. So there may be a little bit of background noise, but we're looking forward to hearing Lori's story. Lori, take it away, please.
Aloha. Can everyone hear me? I'm like in the lobby, yes, trying to find the quietest space. Anyway, aloha, my name is Lori Silva. I own a company called Napua Ala LLC. And what that means is, in Hawaii, it's the scent of a flower is basically what that means. I'm a retired licensed cosmetologist of 35 years. I started my business in 2002. And I learned, like Gary said, I learned how to make products or make body care products in school, actually at HCC, which is a community college, which had a cosmetology department. And because we're part of the UH system, I had to take chemistry. And so our chemistry class was all about that, which I thought, there's no way I can do chemistry, but it's in my field. So if I can do it, seriously, anybody else can do it. Part of the women's own business certification, that process that you have to go through is I'm not gonna lie, not easy, but it's very much worth it. I don't like to share this often, but I don't know, for some reason I feel like I need to. I am not very good at writing. I am the worst speller on the planet. And I was that kid that had to go to learning centers to learn how to read because I wasn't part of the normal classes. I couldn't keep up. And I let that deter me from a lot of things. But what I want to say is, when the pandemic, when I started my business, and it was basically because I wanted to make sense that reminded me of home, because I couldn't find them out there. So I thought, hey, one of these days, I always thought I was gonna make my own product. My focus was fragrance and how it smells, because the ingredients, everybody like me that makes products have great, wonderful ingredients. So my focus was the scent. Well, as I was figuring that out, I never took a business class, but I just kind of like surrounded myself with anybody that I could possibly get information from, which over the period of years and over the period of learning from others and over the period of being encased with women that help women, I came across CNHA's business course, because when the pandemic hit, everything for me stopped. Wholesale accounts, craft fairs, any kind of income for me stopped. But thankfully, we got PUA, which was an assistant for unemployment for people that had their own businesses, which was not offered in the past. And I decided to take the PUA money that I got and learn as much as I can about running a business, about forwarding my product, about how I'm going to sell my product, how I'm going to market my product. And I just took as much education as I possibly could. And one of them was going through the women-owned business certification. So I almost decided that I couldn't do this because of all the writing that it takes to do all of this and all the paperwork. But there's a wonderful thing called Grammarly. Put it on, get it, it helps you do that. But I just persevered and kept on doing what I needed to do to get to where I need to get. And I did it in the midst of, at the same time, exporting to Japan, which is another bunch of paperwork that has to be done. And in the midst of remodeling my own area of my home, so I have an actual studio that I had to do to get the certification also, because you have to, when you get certified, you have your inspection. So I needed to show that I have the right place, the right documentation, and all these kinds of things. So what I'm saying is, unless you go through that program, and it's whether it's this program, many other programs, because there's going to be more other programs to go through. Unless you do that, you can never put your foot in that pool to get ahead in the market. It's just another way of getting your product out there, getting your vision out there. And there's nothing wrong with trying to get as much help from as many organizations as you can. And then in turn that around and help others to do the exact same thing. So I encourage you, as hard as it's going to get at times, you can do it. If there's help that you need, ask for the help. It's never wrong to ask for help. There's always help out there. And like I said, in turn, give it back, because the more you give, the more you get. So happy to be here. Well worth missing lunch at my conference. So aloha and mahalo for having me here with you, lovely women. Aloha.
Thank you, Lori. Appreciate that. And you bring up some really good points in that there are multiple other types of certifications you can get in this area, in particular HubZone and other minorities. So MEDB will assist you in working through those, and hopefully the process will be a lot less since you got through the majority of the hard work. It's literally a few more applications to put in. And duplication of the editing and writing, so that would be minimized. Appreciate that. Thank you. All right, now I'm going to introduce Maui-based Nina. She's the co-founder and creative director at Weekday Studio. It's a brand design studio, and she has clients such as Converse, Hawaii State Art Museum, 20th Century Fox, CBRE. And she's been at this for quite a while and making a big difference. Nina is going to answer a few questions for us that I'll pose to her. So the first one, Nina, is what prompted you to investigate the women-owned certification process with WBEC?
Sure. So we work with a lot of, like you said, these kind of larger Fortune 500 companies. And so all of these have some sort of diversity requirements or social economic responsibility that they have to meet, right? So what I found is that even though I own the business, I think similar to what Jennifer had said, of like just being a woman, right, doesn't mean you're certified in this thing. So I would get these opportunities and, you know, be filling out forms and realize that, yeah, on all of these forms, every single one of them, there was this opportunity to check this thing that I couldn't check. So basically, yeah, it was very apparent to us that, so I own my business with my husband, but I make all the decisions and I'm the majority owner. And because of that, it was like apparent that we needed to do this because there was just missed opportunities. And additionally, I think that the clients will want to continue to come to you if they can keep checking off these certain amount of boxes that they need to check, right? So that's what got us into it in the first place. And I will say was intimidated by the process, like a lot of you are saying, specifically because my husband does own half of the business, right? So he technically owns 49% and I own 51%. So I was nervous about all of that, like where in Jennifer's case, you know, they're both the owners, right? And she was still nervous. So like, I totally understand. Like, I was like, oh, am I, you know, are they going to approve this or what are they going to think of him? And I was just very honest and transparent about it. And because the facts are, I do all of the decision making. I'm actually the only one who's full-time. He's not full-time. So that, you know, but it's just nerve-wracking. It's so nerve-wracking, but I found within the process of that it's similar to this. You can just be honest with them. Like they want to certify you, right? So I was just honest about everything. And then that helped make the intimidation process, the intimidation of the whole process, I think, go down quite a bit.
Thanks, Nina. That you bring up a really good point in that when you set up your business, in the first place, you want to establish a 51% minority owned. So women owned, veteran owned, Native Hawaiian owned are all qualified for that. It's easier when you set up your articles of incorporation with that in the first place. Sometimes you get into challenges if it's a 50-50, then you have to prove something. So it's easier if you just. So next question. We know your business is service-based. A lot of other people like Lori has and Jen have product-based. So how are you planning on using the women-owned small business certification with other companies and government contracts?
Yeah, so the way we present it right now, because like you said, we don't have a product, it's just through our website or through our decks. So everyone can see it in any form of marketing material we have when we put anything out. But I would say it's similar to kind of what I experienced when I decided to sign up is often for us when we are signing a new client, especially the larger corporations, they have existing paperwork where you are kind of filling out these check boxes, right? So essentially that's the most common way we found it. We actually don't do a ton of government work. We've probably only had 1 or 2 projects along those lines. But I know that WBEC has always encouraged me to try to get more because of it. I think there's a lot of opportunities with them through government work. But yeah, for us, it's mainly just been the larger corporations. Again, we do work for smaller businesses and they don't care about the certification so much. Lots of them do like that we're women owned. You know, a lot of them, you know you're women owned very quickly because I'm the first person you meet. So it's just obvious, but yeah, the larger corporations for us as a service business all very much care.
Okay. Great. Yeah, you bring up a point that we haven't clarified quite well before in what we've been saying, and that is for every company that does business with the government in any form of a government contract, they have a vendor diversity requirement that 17% of the vendors that they use have to be from minority-owned businesses. So that's why it's really important to have that certification and check those boxes off, because you really go to the front of the line. And the more of those certifications you have, as I mentioned, veterans-owned or minority-owned or disabled or the women-owned, but all of those really help you get further along, both in with the larger companies, in government contracts, but also when you go for government grants and other activities with the government. So there's a lot of benefit for that. So thanks for that, Nina. Next question. And one of the things that I should just preface this question with is that the WBEC organization, and that's the Women Business Economic Corporation, they have a network of women-owned businesses, and those work all together in a network to help each other out and move their own businesses, and so synergize and work together. So how are you planning, or have you been able to take advantage of the WBEC network that hooks you up with these major corporations?
Sure. I'll be honest and say I haven't had a ton of experience with this yet, but that is on no poor reflection of them rather than me. I just haven't taken advantage of it yet. So, for example, when 20th Century Fox got purchased by Disney a few years ago, we kind of lost the contract pretty quickly because everyone that we worked with left. I had just kind of expressed that in one of the calls. So I have been certified for probably at least 6 years, maybe 7. So maybe have done it a little longer. So I've gone through the process over and over again every year. It might be every 2 years actually. But so, I had mentioned that on the call because sometimes they'll ask you to show contracts and whatnot. And yeah, she was this really lovely lady. So I was just kind of, talking story with her and telling her, oh yeah, like, they just got purchased by Disney and I think we just lost that. And that was a lot of money and, it's a big bummer. And she was like, oh, I know like 10 people at Disney, like, oh, they're really into this. And like, when can I introduce you and blah, blah. And to be frank, I was like going on maternity leave in a week and was like, thank you, I will follow up with you. And I just haven't followed up. So I will say they're like incredible like that. Like she just offered to introduce me to the supplier diversity team at Disney. And the only person who didn't follow up was me. So that's an example of how awesome it can be. And that was with my certification. I don't know their names, but like person, right? So this intimidating person we were all scared of was just offering to introduce me to someone at Disney. So that's an example of what they can do. But then as far as just like networking, I would say less quantifiable is just, the relationships I've met through it. I went to Oahu maybe right before the pandemic to just one of the meetings that they had where I believe her name is Jamie Lynn, who's like in charge of the Pacific. So she had come from California and hosted an event in Oahu at Kaiser. And yeah, it was just great. I mean, like this, but in person to meet all the other women who had been certified and kind of, just feel more connected basically. And I've kept in contact with a few of them, but I think that there is a ton of opportunity that I have yet to even scratch the surface of, and I've been in it for 7 years and still justify paying for it and doing the work every year. So there's definitely a lot there.
Excellent, thank you very much. Can I open this question up to Jen and Lori, Malia? Can you all unmute yourself and answer the same question? How are you using the vendor diversity, supplier diversity network through the WBEC organization?
I think we're just starting to realize we've been newly certified, so we're just really starting. Similarly, we almost didn't know what was out there, and now that we're checking these boxes and making these connections, and it's on up. We're trying to do more, and I almost need to kind of poke ourselves going, okay, we just got our certification, so good things ahead.
Great. Malia? She just went off.
No, she's
Hi,
here.
everybody. Sorry about that. I'm still multitasking. Yeah, we haven't used too much of the opportunities either ourselves. I would say, gosh, it's on the back burner right now. It's definitely on the list as far as to check out all of those opportunities and whatnot. But yeah, we're still rather new. Like I said, I think it's like our second year being certified. But it's really inspiring hearing all of the ways that all the women have been using it here. So thank you.
Great. So Gary, I'm going to jump in because Lori helped get her certification through CNHA, correct? Lori, we are very thrilled that we're among many partners in Hawaii that are helping to move the dial. I mentioned in my opening comments that 40% of the businesses in Hawaii are women-owned businesses, but at last count, there are about 25, definitely under 30 only, women-owned businesses that have taken advantage of this tool. So our other partners, our CNHA, in fact, Lori is coming to us from their annual conference for Native Hawaiians, which is in Waikiki. Thanks for carving out time in the conference. Our good friends at the YWCA of Honolulu in the Patsy Mink leadership realm that they offer and all their training for women's leadership in business. They have a special grant to reach women of color to get them certified. And we also know that Purple Maya, another one of our partners, and actually a spoke in our SBA Navigator grant, is also reaching out to women to help them get certified. So we're all partners in this together. We all have the same goals. And I was really, so Laura, if you want to talk about how CNHA helped you or YWCA, we'd love to hear that. And then I want to hear, I loved hearing about how that little logo that your women-owned business really helps. Because I know as a feminist, I'm not a big corporation, I'm just a consumer. I always look for that because I want to make sure that I'm helping women-owned business. So Lori?
Aloha again. CNH, when the pandemic hit, I don't know why, but for some reason I got this phone call from CNHA saying, hey, we have this business course called Kohana. Would you like to be a part of it? And I thought, why not? I've got this money from the government, you know, the unemployment monies for women, for businesses, you know, that normally never happen. And I thought, why not? Let's just use some of these funds. And I want to get educated as much as I can in what I do or how to forward my business. So I took the CNHA course, a business course, learned a lot because I'm the creator. I'm not the business person, you know, so I learned a lot. And through that, they recommended me to go through the certified program through the Patsy Mink Foundation out here in Honolulu. And so through their recommendation, and I give them all credit, because if it wasn't for that recommendation, I would have never known anything about it. So through that, I went through the Patsy Mink Foundation and went through the certification. And like I said, it's not easy, but if it was easy, everybody, it wouldn't be worth doing if it wasn't easy. You know, things worth of value can't be easy. There has to be work in that. Otherwise, there is no value. And there's no hurrah, I did it, you know, that kind of a thing, you know, to give you your pat on the back. I can do this. What else can I do? So what has happened, and I worked with Purple Maya. I just went through a program with them with how to pitch to companies. And majority of those companies were like corporate companies where my certification came into play. And so not only did I learn how to pitch to companies, because when you run a company, there's other things you have to do. There's there's so many things that you have to do. Like we use the mother, being a mother scenario. I have 4 children and 3 grandchildren. So, you know, I've done all of that. So it's just another form of being a woman and just plowing through and doing what you need to do through that, through these different organizations that take you from one step to the next step to the next step. I did get some contracts through the Purple Maya program that I did go through. So it all comes to play. It all helps. There's all these different, like I had mentioned before, there's all these different organizations together can help us get to the next level and do what we need to do to support our families, our communities, and our islands. So I hope that helps. I hope we all as women inspire each other to do as best as we can to forward ourselves and to be those leaders, because women, you know, are leaders. They are. So if we just help each other and move forward, I believe that we can all be successful no matter what we do. So I hope that helps.
No, very inspiring. Thank you, Lori. I have chicken skin. I couldn't agree with you more. In fact, you know, we've heard it from the US Census Bureau, from the US Department of Commerce. Really, if you all can inspire some of the women out there to get certified and grow their businesses, hire employees, it is probably one of the strongest mechanisms to give resiliency to our economy in the post-pandemic, to help diversify it, to give women more options in participating in the labor force and the workforce, because we know that they left the workforce during the pandemic because of all the multiple things we do, from childcare to elder care, et cetera. So, you know, it's kind of, not only is it a great opportunity for building economic diversity, it's also a great opportunity for strengthening community and families, because there's a saying, it's an old adage. In fact, it's the mission of the Women's Fund, who also is another wonderful part of the infrastructure supporting women, is when women thrive, communities thrive and generations are changed, right? So thanks for inspiring that. I just want to update one thing, and Gary has it in the chat. Again, we're all working on this together, and we all approach getting more women businesses certified from different angles and have different funding streams and mentoring and coaching opportunities. But our partner, who we have represented on today, who we've continued to partner with presenting webinars, and we will do again in August, is the Women's Business Enterprise Council. There's a national council to get their national certification. Our partner is WBEC West, obviously, because Hawaii falls under their Western regional supporting infrastructure. So I think awesome job. So I have just a quick question, then I'll return to let Gary have questions. So one of the things we hear the most, and I'm a long time ago former banker, is that access to capital is always difficult, I think, for any small business, regardless of who the principal and the owner is. Have you found that through any of your training or coaching or being women-owned certified has helped you looking at different types of capital for your business? Anyone can take that question, or if it hasn't, just be honest about that too. Okay. So now, well, we're hopeful. We're also working, part of what we're working on is to actually help our women-owned businesses, many of them who have self-funded or used other personal assets to fund, really make sure that you have the fiscal and financial infrastructure to look at other capital, the SBA being first and foremost, since we're a grantee of that, help you make sure that you have the financial infrastructure and tools to get some of the SBA products and loans, not just those that came forward as relief funding during the pandemic, but now also as additional business capital So I think that's very, very important. There was another question in the chat. Do you have to have a business degree to get certified? So that's a no, but you guys want to share a little bit about what your background is, whether it's experience or academic?
I'm from Hilo, barely made it out of high school, no real college degree, didn't make it to art school. I learned on YouTube, so that's my experience.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Nina.
I think I shared before. I don't have a business degree. My mother is a retired algebra teacher. I hate math. I'm not you can count on one hand how many books I read because I wanted to. So I'm not a very good speller. So, but I have to look for things to help me with those things. So you can do it. You don't have to have a degree in something to do what you want to do, as long as you have passion. As long as you have passion and what you do comes from the heart. And that alone will help you get to where you need to get.
I have a law degree, but all that helped me was filling out some paperwork that had nothing to do with business. I learned nothing from law school about just running this business other than filing some paperwork. And so it's really a matter about perseverance. And quite often, myself included, we're hesitant because we're afraid of the process. We're afraid to start the process. We're intimidated, even though that stupid meeting, I'm like, why was I even worried about this? These are people who are on my team to help me. And one thing I'm learning here, even your question about the finances, I'm sitting here scratching my head thinking, yeah, I probably should get on that. I should do something. So thank you for prompting and giving us some more ideas, and I'll be following up for sure.
Great.
I will say one thing with all the crazy paperwork is it does make you more prepared for all the other crazy paperwork that comes in else in life. Like in the very beginning of starting a business, I didn't even know what these terms were that they were asking. I'm literally like Googling what they're asking me for, right? So now after doing the certification process for 6 to 7 years, even like we did get an SBA loan, the EIDL loan, and it wasn't very hard to get it, like I knew what to do when I knew what they were asking for. And that wasn't because of a business degree. That was because I had to do all these crazy requests to get the WBEC certification, right? So it is just like an educational experience on your own that will make you, I think, more confident in the end, and it'll get easier. As someone who's recertified a lot, it does get easier every time to recertify. Like the first year is like the grueling year, and their website has improved a lot even since I started, where the subsequent years were hard, but now they're getting easier, where like half of the paper, it just says, is this the same as last year? And you say yes. Where that didn't used to exist, you'd have to go dig for it. You even forgot that you dug for it because it's been so long. So it does get easier. And yeah, it just helps you with all the other things that come with owning a business.
Maylia, I think you had a comment on that too, right?
Yes, definitely. So I as well, I graduated high school. I actually went to school at MCC on Maui for a year, but for fashion design. So not business, super fun classes, learned how to sew, learned all about fabrics, which is very interesting because now I work with a lot of fabrics and full circle that way. But yeah, I would agree with Nina on what she was mentioning too about like all of the certifications that you apply for. We do so much paperwork. We do work with Whole Foods and some larger accounts, and gosh, some days my whole day is just figuring out paperwork. So I don't like those days, but when you finish that and check that off the list, it's like, oh, I'm done with that. Now I can get creative again. So yeah, you definitely don't have to have any sort of business degree, although I do recommend joining cohorts, business accelerator programs, and, connecting with as many other business owners as you can, because that is just, wow, that has helped me a ton. I mean, just learning from others, I feel like there's so much value in that. So definitely find your find your people. Thanks.
Absolutely. Well, I think you're inspiring others because you're sharing. There's nothing better than learning from people that you can relate to that are from your community and that are sharing. So I think maybe a great thing on that note is we have another question in the chat is what was your favorite mistake or the mistake or challenge that stood out to you most in your voyage? And then how did you navigate that and overcame that barrier?
For me, it was just not starting earlier. I wish we had just, I don't know why we waited for so long. And if you started at the very beginning and, like you guys has discussed before, when you're forming your articles of organization, you're creating the entity, it's really good to keep these things in mind and also look to other possible, whether it's Hub Zone or, Native Hawaiian. There's a lot of other boxes you can check, legitimately so, but do it, but look when you form your corporation and do it then. And I don't know why we waited. We just figured we're women, okay? They'll know it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it was a really good point that you made, Nina. If you're in a family-owned business situation, you need to make sure that you have 51% of that ownership of the business, whether it's with your children, a spouse, a partner, and that you drive the decision making. They're not just because, as Jennifer, you're so smart when you said, they're looking to make sure that others are just not propping up women to be the face to get these advantages, that you are the decision makers, the leaders, the creative, etc. Excellent question. So anyone else want to share their favorite kind of oops mistake and how they overcame it?
I'm going to say Grammarly is a wonderful tool because
Yeah.
I would write things wrong and come back at me and I'm like, okay, wait, let me go get that Grammarly. And once I did that, the paperwork was a lot, as far as writing things, was a lot easier because it just, Grammarly is a wonderful tool. That's why that helped me a lot. So.
Great suggestion. And Nina, you're unmuted, and so are you, Malia.
I have a bazillion mistakes, but I don't know that I have a specific antidote to share, but I'm making them all the time. Just keep going.
Perseverance, right, is your guide stone. All right, great. Malia?
Oh, sorry, Melinda.
Cool.
When they were asking for our resume to upload, and at this point, we already have everything done. And one thing we noticed, we did not update to our current business. I thought they were looking at more historical resume. So just that's a very simple mistake that I was just thinking like, duh, afterwards. But.
Thanks. And Malia?
Yes. So I wasn't sure if you were talking about business mistakes or the application.
I think it all applies. It was a very generic question. During your journey, during your voyage.
Perfect. Okay. I would have to agree with Nina. I'm constantly making mistakes, but that's how you learn. So I think things took me a lot longer than most people because I don't have any business experience and just kind of learning on the go. But one definite thing that I would change if I started another business is to try not wear all of the hats as much in the, try to figure out when to let go of certain tasks and learn to outsource those, because you can't do everything. And I have a really hard time letting go. I'm kind of a control freak. So, but yeah, finding someone to do a job that they do better than you can is really valuable. And I've kind of figured that out over the years, and it's been really helpful. So definitely learn to let go of some of the tasks and pass those on.
Great. Thank you. Well, we are coming to the close of the hour. I just want to say thank you to all of you. A thank you to Gary Alberts, our colleague who actually works directly with WBEC West and is helping to lead our SBA Navigator program. Thank you, Gary. And he is a masterful coach too. So trust me, if he's pretty much navigated most business problems that anyone would find, including the SAM process. and getting your SAM number. So, and can give encouragement. But MEDB was honored to bring to our community Hawaii women who have your stories and you've navigated, and you're pleased that you persevered and are really excited about the opportunities that will continue to be presented with your certification. We're delighted to have you with us, and thank you for all who joined us. And I'm going to turn it back over to my colleague, Annette Lynch, who will give you some more research and resources, because it is our goal at Maui Economic Development Board and all of our partners to help continue you through the journey, whether you're a startup or whether you're part of those mature growth companies. We would like to help you continue to expand your business. Annette?
Thank you, Leslie. And thank you also to all our speakers. Very engaging presentation and definitely inspirational. I want to get this on everyone's calendar for next month, August 24th, a follow-up Hawaii Women in Business seminar series where we'll be talking a little bit more about the supplier diversity program. So Gary will have more information on that, and so keep an eye on your emails as we fine tune that and give you details of that one, but save that date. For the tech-minded in our group, we have a Maui Tech Wahana next week with Omar Sultan, who is a co-founder and managing partner of Sultan Ventures. And I think maybe for, Jennifer, you were talking about financing. This is a little bit what Omar is about. They do a lot of incubators, that kind of thing. So I think it'll be a very interesting presentation. It'll be, again, talk story, plus an opportunity to network with a different group with entrepreneurs. So keep an eye out for more details of that, and you can also register for that at our website. And what we went through quickly, the resources mentioned, there's a wealth of resources, and we'll pop that in our follow-up email. We send you the replay. There's the WBEC. There is MEDB, of course. There's also the Small Business Development Center Maui, which is a Maui-based organization with the links to the Small Business Administration. You can get support there. And there's also the resource there for getting a patent. And perhaps we'll also invite you to reach out to MEDB info@hightechmaui.com. If you want to know more, there was a question about, I don't have a product, I have this, is that suitable? Services are also part of the program. But, if you have those questions, then reach out, and, we can either respond by email, or we can set up a consult to make sure that you're getting the support that you need. And Gary, just if you want to quickly tell a little bit about, the opportunity for being part of a cohort, that resource, and inviting people to join that. Gary?
Yes, please. We've been working with several businesses to get these certifications. And we're also working to create a cohort of Hawaii and Maui-based businesses to work with WBEC, in particular, creating a channel or a pipeline to these big businesses on the mainland to leverage this vendor diversity program. So please let us know if you want to participate in that. And you don't have to have the certification. We can start just making connections. So please let us know what you'd like to do with that. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you, Gary. And finally, a big mahalo. We do ask that you fill out a survey. There's a link in the chat. Click on that, and while it's fresh in your mind, please let us know what worked, what can be improved, so we can continue to provide the best services, the best speakers, everything that you need to help your business thrive. So thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to welcoming you back next month for the next Hawaii Women in Business seminar series. Aloha.
Aloha, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.